And as Solomon took in those women, 1 Kings 3 says, he loved many foreign women, and those women turned his heart away. And that's really, we end where we began. The person you date has the ability to point you toward the Lord or turn your heart away.
Yeah.
And it says in Kings, Solomon's heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his God like David had been.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the It Stands Written podcast. My name is Braden, and I have Justin in front of me for our last episode on the series.
Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. It's been an amazing series.
It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been really fun.
Yeah, super cool. And if our listeners are still here at this point, they're either like, tell me the last one so that I can ask her to marry me, or so that I can tell him, hey, what else are you waiting for?
Exactly.
Yeah,
but today our last question is, are we both passionate to be married? Justin, why is this the last question?
Everything else you can have as a spiritual friendship with a person and not be romantically connected for life. You can be a best friend of somebody. You could be a partner in ministry with somebody. You can have good, godly communication and conflict resolution with a person. People can look at your life and say, you are more impactful as you shoulder kingdom responsibility and serve the Lord. You show a life of contentment that's pleasing to him. But let me just tell you something. If you don't burn with white hot flame of passion for this person, where you're like, I want to do to you what married people do, then you should not get married. Let me give you an example. So I knew a guy several years ago who everybody was expecting would marry this girl. And all the things I just said they had. I mean, they encourage each other, best friends, like life together, super fun. And we're all going, everybody sees it. Wise counselors were like, yeah, absolutely. So I sat down with him one day and I just said, hey, so I'm just curious, where are you at? Like, are you gonna pull the trigger and drop the rock, man? Like, what's the plan? And he got really awkward. And he said, this person I think the world of, and I just enjoy being with, and all the hesitation is creating, tension to me going, but what? We're pure. We haven't violated any standards. We love God's word. She encourages me with scripture. I encourage her. We do ministry together. Like, I can't find anything in her that I just don't absolutely appreciate, honor, and enjoy. But when I'm with her, I don't have romantic interest or desires. And then he said this, honestly, I'd rather be mowing my lawn. I said, now you have a pretty cool lawnmower. Like, it's a John Deere 0-turn, like really cool lawnmower. I said, you'd rather be mowing your lawn than with her? He's like, when it comes to that area, yeah, I would just love to get out in my fields and mow. I said, okay, two things. Number one, don't ever tell her that. If you tell her I'd rather mow my lawn than kiss you, you're gonna kiss the blade. The second thing though is then you got to end it. I think everybody expects that your relationship should immediately and very quickly turn into marriage. But what I'm hearing for you is you don't have desire for intimate, romantic, emotional, joyful, even physical expressions that honor her. He said, I don't at all. I said, then you need to tell her. And very gently he did. And it broke her heart. Yeah. And she married the most wonderful guy. And I think he just had his 7th kid. Wow. And so I'm like, okay. I think you found the person that, you
had the passion. It's the wrong person.
But this is what's beautiful about how what we've done in this series is baked into. I love the genius of God's mind and how he's laid it. We're just tracing his thoughts and thinking his thoughts after him. If you do all the things that we've said in this series and you get to this place and you recognize you don't have that, you have a friend in Christ who has shown you what you're looking for in the person that you'll ultimately marry, but no regrets in the sense that you've not defrauded the person that you've been with.
Right.
You've not had anything that you've taken from that person that they'll have to apologize to their future spouse, which is not you, for having stolen. And you'll walk away without the bitter breakup of now having to take a Taylor Swift song and replay it just to comfort yourself. We are never, ever, ever getting back together. So you don't want that, right? You want somebody who you go, we got to a certain point and we celebrated what God gave us in a friendship that remains. But that's all it is. Yeah. And so now as we move on, I'm looking for the person who will complete that with these romantic desires. So for that, we've saved the best for last. The Song of Solomon is where we're going to spend, I'm getting goosebumps actually thinking about it. The Song of Solomon is where we're going to end today. Yeah. Now, what is also cool, and you'll hear it as we go through, every single one of the previous 11 points or questions in this series are found in the Song of Solomon. God has given an entire book, one book, that is exclusively devoted to this issue. And what's cool is Solomon wrote, the Book of Kings tells us, First Kings, 1,005 songs. This was his best. This went gold and platinum. Like he of all the songs he wrote, with all the wisdom that God gave him, wrote the song that is, for more than any one of the other things he did, is the best of the best pictures of what righteous romantic love should be. And it's romantic here. And we know that because of verse one, the Song of Songs. So it's just like when Jesus is the King of Kings, he's the greatest of all kings. This is the song of all of Solomon's songs that are the best. May he kiss me with the kisses of his mouth is how she opens. Like, she's ready for his mouth. She wants to be kissed by this guy. She is very much interested in the romantic expression that he has. And just as a word of interpretation, by the way, some have made this like really awkward, and they have said, and we can have a grown-up conversation right now, can we?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Yeah. They've taken this, and because particularly the Puritans have done this, is they spiritualized a number of the Old Testament passages, trying to read the New Testament back into the Old Testament. They've said, well, if marriage is a picture of Christ and the church, then this is really a picture of our relationship with Jesus. Nothing could be further from the truth. Yeah. Jesus does not invite us to interact with him erotically. Yeah. This book is eros. It's not only eros, but it is clearly eros. Yeah. And I've heard even some people say, and my wife's not going to want me to say this, so I'm going to say it anyway. Always be interesting lead up to that, right? But this is an example of what is people will do with the Song of Solomon. In chapter 4, when he's in front of everybody and they're reciting their wedding vows, he says, "Your breasts are like two fawns of a gazelle." Well, what some have done, namely the Puritans, is they're like, well, I mean, if this is an analogy of Christ and the church, no kidding. I've read this, seen this with my own eyes, and throw up in my mouth. The left breast is the Old Testament, on which you need to be nourished by the pure milk of the word. This is a husband, not a child. So he's not trying to be nourished on the milk of the word here. Yeah. The right breast, they say, is the New Testament. The cleavage is the intertestamental period of the silent years. I'm just telling you one thing. Solomon is not thinking about the New Testament. No. He's thinking about her breasts. Yeah. And he is saying it in a way that he desires what God has righteously, you're blushing, has righteously given to this man to enjoy. And he would write later in Ecclesiastes, or even in Proverbs 5, be exhilarated always with her love. Let her breasts satisfy you at all times. Mm-hmm. Be exhilarated with her love. So there is this delight you have that reaches deeper, but an absolute passion for what God has meant for a couple to enjoy in the gift of marriage. And the Song of Solomon provides that. Yeah. Now, there's also some interpretive notes that we need to make kind of at the beginning here. He will say things like, your neck is like the Tower of David. Now, if you were to take that literally, you would draw a giraffe. Yeah. That's... Don't try this at home, guys. What he's doing is he's carefully choosing words that, as one person said, touch her heart and mind by carefully composed compliments, delights, affirmations, satisfaction, and joy, and before he touches her body. He has so meditated on what thrills him about her, what he so loves about her. And throughout the book, he finds new things, like how her feet look in sandals. to delight in. He's like, I have not missed a single part of your endless perfections. And the longer that I'm with you, the more I find to delight in you. So this is something that's not just a hypercharged hormonal teenager. This is a mature expression of righteous romantic love as it is supposed to be. And so the Song of Solomon, that's why it's here. And sometimes Christians will venture into this book and, their first time they're like, is this in the Bible? Like they'll flip the book over and go, yes, this is the Bible.
Yeah.
And they'll read it and they'll be like, is anybody watching me read this? They'll feel like they're reading something inappropriate. They're not. Yeah. God wants us to learn it here, not in the locker room. He wants us to learn it here, not on the internet.
Yeah.
In a hyper pornographic world that we live in where women are objectified and sexuality is exploited. I had a conversation with my 11-year-old yesterday. She had to walk away from some conversations with girls over very, very 11-year-old girls who are having very, very sexually explicit conversations that she had to say, guys, if you're talking about this, I can't be part of this.
Yeah.
And so it's there and it's getting younger all the time.
Yeah.
God gives this as the antidote. Now, what's also cool, and I'm over talking, but I can't wait to get into this. One more thing is that this book was meant to be understood before you got to puberty. So in ancient Israel, the children learned Proverbs 1-9 before puberty. And right about the time they were going from the transition from from child to adult, young adult, but child to adult at puberty, they learned this book. They learned it as and slightly before they needed it, so that they knew what they were looking for in a godly spouse, and they took that to heart, the principles in here that then they embodied, sought, and found. And then after that, they learned the book of Job. You're going to walk into a life now with a marriage partner and it's a broken world. You need to know how to suffer. And then you're going to learn the book of Ecclesiastes that tells you, here's the lessons you're going to need before you make all the mistakes that Solomon made. And we're going to talk about that at the end today. And then put those to work now. And then you go back and read the rest of Proverbs. So that's how they approach the wisdom literature in ancient Israel. So this book should be taught around age 11, 12, 13, where your kids are going, ooh, still.
Yeah.
That's how this should be learned and applied. So if you missed that, that's okay. You're getting it today. Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's dive into this. This is super fun. So she wants his mouth. Like verse 2, may he kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. Read the next phrase. Why? Why does she want him to kiss her so much and so urgently?
For your love is better than wine.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Your love. Now, this is we talked about this in one of our questions. There's a quality of his love, not because he's a hunka burning love, but because he is the man who has the quality of, and the word here used in the Old Testament Hebrew is the kind of word to describe the love from God. He's a godly man who loves. What draws me after him romantically and physically is what I know to be true of him spiritually. It's the best of the best. There's cheap wine and there's really, really good wine, and he's the best of all of that.
Yeah.
And then she talks about his perfume. We talked about that the last podcast, right? Your oils have a pleasing fragrance. So she's close enough to smell him. And this doesn't mean he's like wearing Tom Ford Tobacco Vanilla, which, by the way, is the most spectacular of all the Tom Ford
perfumes. It's pretty good. I smell Justin. I've smelt it on Justin before. It's good. Yeah,
this is like my favorite of them. Well, if you're close enough to smell it, like she's wanting to kiss him. She's looking adoringly in his eyes. Yeah. She's extolling the character of his love. But then she says, man, you smell amazing, which reminds me of your verse 3. Go ahead.
Your oils have a pleasing fragrance. Your name is like purified oil. Therefore, the maidens love you.
Now, this is interesting. You're wearing a perfume, but your name is better than the best of the most purified oils and perfumes. In other words, she's finding in her experience with him romantically the root and the source of those things spiritually. What's a person's name entail? It's not like Solomon. Oh, cool name.
It's their legacy, what they stand for.
What you stand for, what your convictions are, primarily your character. So you are known. When somebody says your name, when you hear the name Corinthians, you're like, ugh. When you hear the name of Jesus, when you hear the name of somebody who's notorious for being evil, or someone whose name is notable for being worthy, you associate their behavior, their convictions with it. She says, do you know what your name is? Your name is like oil that has been refined, all the impurities drained out. When I look at your character, I see in you something where all those things, like if you create oil from olives, which is the primary source of how you did that in ancient Israel, there was a crushing process that forced the inside that was so good and valuable to come out. what I see in your life is something so valuable, but it has to be strained. So we're going to take the raw stuff and we're going to purify it. We're going to refine it. And again, and again, and again. Solomon, that is your character. And every time I catch a whiff of your oil, your perfume, it makes me think about what a godly man you are. So that's what's underneath all this. And sometimes in the poetry, we don't get just a straight up, you smell good. She's not saying, you smell good and you're godly, right?
Yeah.
But she's carefully composing to him with language that's worthy of him and the dignity of God's design in their relationship, something that speaks encouragement. This isn't flattery. This is something she really believes is true. And she says, that's why everybody loves you. And so verse 5, now she has something that she considers, and in verse 6, to be a source of insecurity. Would you read that?
I am black but lovely, O daughters of Jerusalem, like the tents of Kedar, like the curtains of Solomon. Do not stare at me because I am swarthy, for the sun has burned me. My mother's sons were angry with me. They made me caretaker of the vineyards, but I have not taken care of my own vineyard.
Man, I love this. This is so good. And guys, listen up, because there's some really good, helpful hacks right now into your premarital and engaged relationship, and early even on in marriage. So she's concerned in verse 6 that he's going to look at her and find imperfections in her. And the reason she has imperfections, particularly on her skin, she says, I'm swarthy. That's another name from black. This isn't saying that black is unattractive. What this is saying is she's got a farmer's tan. This is a Middle Eastern woman who's been out in the fields, it says, all this time. Her mother's sons, her brother. By the way, dad is never mentioned in this whole story for her. And it's more than likely David at this point is dead. And I can reconstruct some of the history at the end if we want to kind of see who this woman is specifically. And we know from 1 Kings, read 1 Kings 1 and 2, you'll find out exactly who this woman is. You can do that on your own. But what happened is these brothers stuck her out in the field, and she's been working. She's not been in court. She's not wearing these beautiful gowns. She's not being presented to all the suitors. She's out in the field. Think of Cinderella with dirt under her fingernails and a farmer's tan. And now Solomon wants her. Solomon could have anybody, but he wants her. And she uses the analogy, they made me a caretaker of the vineyards out there. I'm a working girl, but I've not taken care of my own vineyard, which is a metaphor of herself. I haven't had time to work on me. Now, I'm out on the farm a lot. My skin has been burned, and now I have permanent marks that if you look close enough, you're going to see you might not like. And if you start comparing me to other women, you might find flaws enough to turn yourself away from me. She's saying, I am insecure because of things that I'm consciously aware of that you might not like. And it's interesting. She's putting that right in front here in chapter 1. There's things about me that as you get closer to me, you're going to see that are imperfections. And I want to know, what do you feel about those things? I'm beautiful, she acknowledges in verse 5, but my skin is so marred, I'm afraid that, and in that world, like in our day, tanning is a sign you're a lazy girl. You don't have work to do, so you're just posting photos of yourself, probably inappropriate, on some social media platform because you're laying out tanning all day. That's kind of like, oh, you have so much money, you don't require work. Yeah. Right? In the ancient world, fair skin was a sign of luxury, because you weren't one of those hardcore working girls all out in the field, blue collar. So that's kind of the picture that's here. So then she says, okay, watch this. This is so cool. And again, the poetry here, when you understand what she's saying, is so insightful. So then she goes on to say, after she's just voiced her insecurities, I don't want you to look at those areas that if you find them, you're not going to like it. Tell me, verse 7, oh, you whom my soul loves. Do you see the spiritual foundation there?
Yeah.
Where do you pasture your flock? So apparently David had Solomon at some point in his life doing what David had to do before he was king, out in the flock. Wonderful lesson. Get alone with God like I did. Remember Psalm 23, rehearse that. Some of the things you need to be king, or you're going to have to learn out in the field like I did. That's cool. So he actually was a shepherd at one point. Where do you pasture your flock? Where do you make it lie down at noon? That's the hottest point of the day. That's when everybody gets out of the sun. That's where everybody chills. It's the siesta time. For why should I be like one who veils herself beside the flocks of your companions? Like, what woman do you think follows hardworking men and veils herself in the ancient world? Do you know? Prostitutes. You can see the example of this back in Genesis 38, actually, 37 and 38. The prostitute is the one who veiled herself. So what she's saying, watch this, put these things together. I'm insecure. Particularly, I have bodily things that if you look close enough, I won't compare with the women you could have otherwise. So here's what I want to do. I want to always be where you are. I want to always be in front of the women who would otherwise offer themselves to you. When you're not with me, are you for me? I want to go where you are, Solomon. I want to protect your eyes. I want to be the only object of your desire. Look at me, not at them. But when you look at me, you're going to see things you might not like. So you see what she's doing? Yeah. She's being very transparent and offering to him something about herself that she's just saying, honestly, where do we stand? Now, what's interesting, and we'll see this at the end, after they have a big fight, she comes back and says, can you give me some reassurances after we went through something hard that you're still in? I still do. Yeah. Is that what you have for me? I don't want you to think that I want to follow you around like that woman does, but I want to follow you around because I want to be the object of your desire. Now read his response in your best Rico Suave voice that you can in verse 8.
If you yourself do not know, most beautiful among women, go forth on the trail of the flock and pasture your young goats by the tents of the shepherds.
Yeah, I'd work on that a little bit.
Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So what does he call her?
Most beautiful among women.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
He's going after her insecurities. He's pushing her insecurities away. He's doing what we talked about last night in our life group, like he's persecuting her insecurities.
Yeah.
So there's a level at which he says, oh, you feel insecure about something? You wanted to know how I feel? Does that leave questions in your mind about what you do to me when I look at you? I'll tell you, oh, the most beautiful among women. Verse 9, to me, my darling, you are like my mare among the chariots of Pharaoh. Okay, pause. You're like my horse. Okay, again, be really careful, guys.
Don't call her a horse.
Yeah. So your nose is just really, your face is really long, and you make me sneeze. And when I jump on you and kick you, you get going.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say? Like, baby, you're like my Ford truck. I just turn the key and you turn on every time. You know, you take me where. That's not what he's saying. The mare is a female horse. Contrast the chariots of Pharaoh. These are battle horses. So do you know what they did to get the horses ready for battle? They paraded the mare in front of the horses, and the testosterone in the horses made those horses go wild, and they're snorting and they're stomping. And as soon as they get the word go, they're raging into battle, because when this thing is done, I'm going to go get with that mare. And sometimes if the battle grew weary and the horses began to be fatigued, the mare would run through. There was a specific soldier designed to run through the battlefield on the mare, so that those horses looked and were like, you know, they just went for it, you know. You want me to do it again? That's what they did. And so he's saying, do you know what happens to me when I look at you? The same thing that happens to a stallion when a mare parades by. Oh. Now, that's a whole different story. He's not saying you look like a horse. He's saying you drive me wild.
Yeah.
Just at a glimpse of you. And he starts giving an example. Your cheeks, lovely with ornaments. Your neck with a string of beads. He's starting to move from the cheeks downward, right? But notice he doesn't get too much further, right? So there's a sense in which he is so addressing her. They go back and forth. Verse 15, how beautiful you are, my darling, how beautiful you are. See the repetition? It's not like, I told you once I love you, and if that ever changes, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
You're beautiful, and I told you. No, she needs to hear over and over again. Why? If he doesn't, what will happen to those insecurities?
They'll grow larger and larger.
Absolutely. So he is a steward of that for her. So this is an insight, guys, what your women need. It's not that she's groping for compliments. She is asking by specific divine inspiration as modeled to us here for you to reaffirm over and over again, not that you delight in her, but what you delight in her. How beautiful you are. Your eyes are like doves. These are the things, by the way, he's also going to say publicly on his wedding day. So they're very picturesque. They're very illustrative of his heart, and they're going to be very public. And she's like, well, how handsome you are, my beloved, and so pleasant. And then verse 16, what does she make reference to?
Their couch.
It's not, you're beautiful. Yeah, your eyes are like doves. Couch. It's not like nice couch. It's cool, green couch. Isn't that nice? They want to go sit on the couch, and what does she want to do? She wants to make out with him, right? So this is a desire for physical, romantic expressions that are not selfish, but are designed to show how much I delight in you, and therefore are selfless and life-giving and yet mutually satisfying. This is the way that it's supposed to go. Romance isn't two selfish people now trying to find a way to engage with one another to gratify themselves, and the other person is willing to be a means to that end. Now, having said that, look at chapter 2, verse 1. This is her talking. What does she say about herself after he has been so effective?
I am the rose of Sharon, the lily of the valleys.
I'm the best of the best. Now, is this arrogance and pride?
Mm-mm.
What is it? This is her believing what he said.
Mm.
This isn't her like, I'm pretty hot stuff.
Yeah.
This is her going, I actually have come to the place where I believe it and no longer dwell on these imperfections of mine.
Mm.
He's not dwelling on them. I'm not dwelling on them. Listen, as the baseline for the security by which I hold him to me. That's not it. That's not it.
Yeah.
And he jumps in. Oh, the lily? You think you're the lily? Yeah, the lily among thorns.
Mm.
All the rest of the women are thorns. Prickly, pokey, painful things. You are this exquisite lily.
Mm.
If you're listening to this and you want to type in on your search engine or do what I'm about to do, hey Siri, show me images of a lily from Israel. Take a look at this picture and see how gorgeous this is. It's an absolute, yeah, look at that, stunning, beautiful picture. So when you find a woman, men, who is the one that God has for you, you will naturally have this affection for her. That's the key. You see the picture?
Yeah.
See the picture? Isn't that cool, Lily?
That is.
Now she says he's the lily of the valleys. Or he says you're the lily of the valleys, among thorns. So is my darling among the maidens. And then he hears her say, verse 3. Go ahead.
Like an apple tree among the trees of the forest, so is my beloved among the young men. In his shade I took great delight and sat down, and his fruit was sweet to my taste.
So she is reciprocating now analogies that describe the worth that he has to her. And the picture is an apple tree. There's some question, is this an apple tree or an apricot tree? Some people wonder if, which one it is in Israel. At this point, it will matter later. But at this point, it really doesn't matter which one it is. Mm-hmm. There's two benefits to this tree. What are they? You just read them.
Shade and fruit.
Okay, so one is protection, one is provision. Mm. You hear what's going on here?
Yeah.
I love the role that God has given to you as my protector and my provider.
Yeah.
And she's not like, thanks for working for us, bro, so I can spend money. Mm-hmm. She's saying, I love that you are faithful to the role that God has given you, which I have no desire to overthrow, Genesis 3. I have no desire to usurp or take over. When you work for us and you provide, I take what you provide and it is sweet to me. Your protection and your shade, I sit down under it in delight.
Yeah.
This is one of the questions that we asked. Are we fitted to complement one another? Yeah. That's right here.
Yeah.
And she says, I not only see that you do it, but I actually savor the fact that you do it for me.
Yeah. It's remind me of the verse, and if you want to give the address where it says, husbands, nourish and cherish your wife.
Yeah, that's Ephesians 5, 27 and 28.
Yeah, nourish we talked about, that's provision, and then cherish is protection.
There it is, right there. Pictured beautifully in the context of a tree. And a tree is a strong thing, right? A tree is something that she delights in that for him, for sure. And so, she says, he's brought me into his banquet hall and his banner over me is love. This is military language. But when Solomon is with me, he is so happy to be with me. Like I get to be on his arm when he walks into the heads of state, when he's talking to his commanders, wherever Solomon goes, he pulls me in, whether it's a banquet hall and a great celebration or a feast, but whatever he does, his banner and military, they actually organize themselves into battalions by the banner. Were you the purple? Were you the red? Were you the yellow? That's what you looked for as the place where you go. Well, he's got a banner. He's put it over top of me and it says love on it. How cool is this? So then she says, sustain me with raisin cakes. Refresh me with apples because I'm lovesick. So again, this is like, I'm hungry. You got a muffin? That's not what she's saying.
Right.
Do you know what a raisin cake was?
A cake made out of raisins.
Yeah, good job. It was an aphrodisiac. So the best way to describe an aphrodisiac, if that's too big of a word, ready? Foreplay food. Foreplay food. But specifically chosen, ready? It's going to get slightly uncomfortable. Raisins, raisin cakes, the raisins represented seed. So this is what happens when a married couple comes together in the marriage bed. There is usually a baby, and that baby's called the seed that comes from the man. So what she's saying is, I'm ready now for us to do what married people want to do. And not only that, let his left hand be under my head and his right hand embrace me. So what position does she want to be in verse 6? If you got your left hand under the head and the right hand is embracing her, she wants to lay down in front of him and be caressed. Okay, now this is where you're like, okay, that's like a line you just walked up to. So what do you do? Verse 7, go ahead and read it. This is her talking.
I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem, by the gazelles or by the hinds of the field, that you do not arouse or awaken my love until she pleases.
Now, this is interesting. And what's interesting also about this is if you read that from the New American Standard, which is what we typically use here, that you do not arouse or awaken, my is added by the translator.
Yeah.
It reads this way, that you do not arouse or awaken love until, in the Hebrew reads literally in the neuter, until it pleases. So what are they doing? She's calling in the daughters of Jerusalem. The daughters of Jerusalem are her bridesmaids. This is the wise counselor from the last podcast. These are the people that we're going to see later on when they have a fight she goes to that give her wise biblical counsel to go back to him with the right frame of mind. But what happens is she's saying, as soon as I have felt urges that can only be gratified by marital intimacy, sex, I immediately call my accountability partners and ask for their support and help, that we who have something that is very natural by God that is meant to lead to the marriage bed, though we're not in the marriage bed yet, that they will help me not arouse what I cannot put back to sleep. So it's like, I just started a fire in my house in the fireplace. That fire wants to get out of the fireplace and onto the carpet. If it gets out of the fireplace and into the carpet, it will burn my house down. So help me, girls. Two things are important. Accountability, we've already underlined that, but it is right and natural for you to have romantic desires that you have to now put a halt to and the kibosh on because they aren't yet ready to express, but we're getting close. So that's what you find. Okay, so that's an interlude. I'll read verse 8. This is her talking. Listen, my beloved, behold, he is coming, climbing on the mountains, leaping on the hills. He's athletic. He's out for his morning workout, right? This is what you were doing this morning, like at 5 a.m., right?
Sure. Yeah, we'll say that.
Yeah. How does she describe him in verse 9?
My beloved is like a gazelle or a young stag. Behold, he is standing behind our wall. He is looking through the windows. He is peering through the lattice.
So he's done with his run. She's watching him bound on the hills, right? But then he's showing up at her house. He's coming. He's looking through the windows. He's trying to find her. He's looking through the lattice. Where are you? There's a little bit of a peekaboo, but it's like, hey, I'm here. Like this is post-workout. Let's be together. They're wanting to spend exclusive time to one another.
Yeah.
And then he says, my beloved, she says, my beloved responded and said to me, arise, my darling, my beautiful one. Notice he's still on that.
Yeah.
Come along. Winter's past. Rain is over and gone. The flowers have appeared in the land. The time for pruning of the vines. The voice of the turtle dove's been heard. The fig has ripened. Verse 13. The vines are in blossom. They've given forth their fragrance. What time of year is this? Springtime. This is typically the season of love. Everything has blossomed. Everything is awakened. And he's using an analogy. That's where we are in our relationship. So what was in seed form, what was now becoming in bud form has opened. And it's the season of love. And it's a very sensual, I don't mean by that sexual, I mean sensual in the sensory, highly stimulating to the senses type of season. And he says, that's what's happening. When we have now taken our relationship to the point, it is time to do the inevitable. It is time for us to go. And where does he want to go? He wants to say, come along, verse 14. Go ahead and read it.
O my dove, in the clefts of the rock, in the secret place of the steep pathway, let me see your form, let me hear your voice, for your voice is sweet and your form is lovely.
I want to take you to the clefts of the rock. Like if they're going to go to a secret place of a steep pathway, where are they going?
The cleft.
Yeah, this is a place where nobody goes and it's very hard to get to. And when they get there, like, well, why don't you just see me here? Like I'm right here in front of you. We're at your house. Like, no, I want to go away to a place where nobody can follow us.
Yeah.
Where we're secret, just you and me. And I want to see your form. Now, the word in the Hebrew here, I mean, let's be straight. It can be translated generally appearance. It's translated literally your front. I want to see your front. Is that uncomfortable?
A little bit.
and I want to hear your voice.
Yeah.
For your voice is sweet, and your front is lovely. I want to go look at your body and have you talk to me in a place where nobody else is, in a way that we can't do right here in front of everybody else at your house. This is saying, I want you bad. This is where a healthy couple, when they pull up to say goodnight, says, get out.
Yeah.
Get out of the car right now, because I want to do with you things that are very natural, because God has given us one another that right now we can't do. That's why we say in verse 15, go ahead.
Catch the foxes for us, the little foxes that are ruining the vineyards while our vineyards are in blossom.
Okay, so now follow the analogy. She's used vineyards in the past to refer to herself. Our bodies, ourselves, our love, it's all open, it's all ready, it's fragrant, it's time. It's time. But we don't want anything to ruin our vineyard. And he gives two options of things that could ruin your vineyard: foxes and little foxes, especially the little foxes. So they're calling out again to their accountability, catch the foxes for us. Now, what do foxes do to a vineyard? Vineyard is grapes.
They'll eat it, they'll destroy it, tear it up.
Yeah, they're going to eat it. Now, what's the difference between a big fox and a little fox? Do you know?
The size.
It's the size. Why does size matter? The little fox and a big fox.
Little fox can get into the smaller places the bigger fox can't.
Yeah, so you might be watchful of those big areas in your life, and certainly you should be.
Yeah.
Foxes are nimble. Foxes are quick. Foxes can scale a wall, jump in. But foxes are different than little foxes. Foxes have this way. When you go up to a vineyard where the trusses are and the grapes are hanging off, the fox is tall enough to get on his hind legs and reach and bite the grape off the vine. A little fox cannot do that. A little fox, a smaller compromise, is potentially more damaging. You need to be concerned more about the little fox than the big fox.
Yeah.
The big fox can eat more, and you're always watching for those, but the little fox can get in those easier to access or harder to access places because they're smaller. It's easier for them, but they can't quite reach the grapes. You know what they do? They gnaw at the base of the vine and then rip it off the tress and pull it off and then eat the grape. Which is worse, eat the grape that grows back or destroy the vine?
Destroy the vine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what they're saying is we have to be really careful right now.
Yeah.
Because we are dangerously close. Because we're in that funny middle between when it's time to enjoy what God has given to us, but it's not yet time to express it. I want to, and it's right. I'd rather not go be mowing my lawn. I'd rather be in bed with you, but I can't. And so what I'm going to have to do is invite a scrutiny in our lives from other people, but a very, very careful look. What are those little tiny things that could do extreme damage to us in our foundation? I love this couple. They're being so guarded and so careful in their purity. And we expect that because they're a godly couple, as we've already seen.
Yeah.
And so he says, or she says, my beloved is mine, I'm his. He pastures his flock among the lilies until the cool of day, when the shadows flee away. This is like when it's starting to cool off and quiet and the most enjoyable part of the day. She says, turn, my beloved, and be a gazelle or a young stag on the mountains of Bether. Now, why does she say that? Well, she's referring back to, we're going to have to do this thing a little bit longer where you're out there, I'm in here, you're running on the hills. But there's a day coming when day is going to turn to night and things cool off. And then I want you to be a gazelle or young stag on my mountains. What's she saying?
Yeah.
Because the word Bether, do you have a marginal note in your Bible? Cleavage. I want you to run up and down on my mountains. Not yet. Is that uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But this is what she's saying.
Right.
So we're hitting it head on. And if you're listening to this blushing, that's maybe in part, number one, because it is intimate, and we're going to get to the place where they experience that, but there's a do not disturb sign on the door that's locked that we don't get access to. It's between them to explore for one another. But this is holy, righteous, and good. It's in God's word, inspired by the Holy Spirit, meant for us to see that this is righteous and expected. So he goes away. He leaves. And we know that because in chapter 4, he comes back with this massive entourage, but she is in verse 1 in chapter 3 having a really, really troubled dream. On my bed, night after night, I sought him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but did not find him. She's having a restless dream. She's dreaming about the guy. Why? He's gone. She doesn't have access to him. And she has this dream that she actually gets up and is wandering on the city. She bumps into the watchman. And she's like, have you seen him? Have you seen him? Have you seen him? Which is actually going to be important in chapter 5. Scarcely had I left them when I found him whom my soul loves. I held on to him. I would not let him go until I brought him into my mother's house, into the room of her who conceived me. Like, I'm going to go in there and do what she did when she conceived me. Like, she's having a sex dream. Now, what that means is that she doesn't get full on into the explicit. Actually, look at how godly this woman is. She grabs a hold of him, and now she's dreaming that she's walking into the marriage chamber together with him, and she wakes up, verse 5, and says what?
I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem, by the gazelles or by the hinds of the field, that you will not arouse or waken my love until she pleases.
Even in her subconscious thoughts as she dreams at night about the one that she rightly desires, she has enough godly character to wake herself up to stop even a dream that would enhance thoughts that would play out in her mind, although imaginary, of what she'd like to do. She even stops herself there and doesn't let her own thoughts go further, let alone her actions.
Yeah.
She's having her accountability partners pray for her and support her as she guards her own thoughts. This is a godly woman. What an incredible gift. And this is even what Jesus would say, just the act of sin isn't the only expression of breaking that commandment, right? If you have lust in your heart, you've broken that commandment. So she's even guarding her heart here, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
But then chapter 6, okay, let's pick up a little speed here. This is super fun. This is the wedding day in chapter 3, verse 6. And she's looking out and she says, go ahead, verse 6 through 9.
What is this coming up from the wilderness, like columns of smoke, perfumed with myrrh and frankincense, with all scented powders of the merchant? Behold, it is the traveling couch of Solomon, 60 mighty men around it, of the mighty men of Israel. All of them are wielders of the sword, expert in war. Each man has a sword at his side, guarding against the terrors of the night. King Solomon has made for himself a seated chair from the timber of Lebanon.
Keep going. Go to verse 11.
He made its posts of silver, its back of gold, and its seat of purple fabric, with its interior lovingly fitted out by the daughters of Jerusalem. Go forth, O daughters of Zion, and gaze on King Solomon with the crown with which his mother has crowned him on the day of his wedding, and on that day of his gladness of heart.
That's so good in here. Notice the absence of David. Notice that his mother is there with a specific kind of crown to put on his head on this particular day. So Solomon is king, David's dead. And again, you follow the narrative in 1 Kings 1 and 2. You'll see this play out exactly as Solomon is, the Song of Solomon is describing it here. What's happening? He's coming to get his bride. This is the wedding day. Now, you might remember, and Jesus employs some of this language even when he refers eschatologically to his coming for his bride. But there is I'm going to go away and prepare the place, and then I will come again to receive you to myself. In the ancient world, weddings happened this way, is the guy went away, got everything ready, and the girl was in the process of getting ready too, but didn't know when he was going to come. So there was always somebody watching the horizon going, when is it? 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 And now they're like, oh my word, do you see this massive plume of smoke? They're still far away and smoke is pluming. And I think this is the day. I think this is it. Girls, get ready. I can smell the entourage before it arrives. What is happening? Solomon is traveling on a couch that my bridesmaid helped him make. He made specifically for this event. He's wearing a crown that his mom dedicated just for him. Like this is the attendance. Like there's a majesty and a beauty and a glory to this event. 60 groomsmen. 60. I think I had 10 at mine.
That's a lot.
These are all his Secret Service guys, all of them the mightiest men of Israel, wielders of the sword, experts in war, guarding him, protecting him. Why all the pomp and circumstance, do you think? Why not be like hat in hand? Hi. Why all the dramatic, high, probably expensive, celebratory, audacious, probably attendant, frankincense, myrrh, perfume, smoke, columns? Why this display? Gold, purple.
I think because it's super important to him because he loves her.
Yeah. This event is worthy of God and it's worthy of her. And this doesn't mean, by the way, like if you are a couple and you're like, we don't have a lot of money for a big ceremony.
Right.
We're going to meet in the park. Guess what? That you can honor the Lord in such a way that the ceremony feels and communicates the gravity and the dignity of God's design. You can do that. You can absolutely do that. And you should. Now, Solomon happens to have the money to throw into it, and it is the party of parties. It's the most spectacular thing that anyone in this has ever seen. But would you notice at the very end, this is the day of his wedding, and how is it described at the end of verse 11?
On the day of his gladness of heart.
That's so good. He's sure. He has no questions whatsoever. He is thrilled. And this is what happens to me in weddings, and this has happened to me recently. I'm standing there with the groom, and when you look at the face of the groom, you see the depth of he's totally forgetful of himself. He can't believe he's there. He's beginning to cry because he is so taken back by this awesome reality that she gets to be his.
Yeah.
So look to do it on a budget. Don't blow crazy money.
Yeah.
A lot of couples do something stupid. They blow, $10, $20, $30,000 on a wedding, and they have nothing to turn on their electric bill in their new apartment. Or they went and had some opulent honeymoon, in Bora Bora, but they get back and they're already in debt when they start. There's some wisdom to exercise here. We're not saying go all out, but there's a way you can be honoring, dignified, and worthy of God. Okay, so now we're in front of all the public, and Solomon says, starting in verse 1, and go ahead. Why don't you read verse 1 through 7?
How beautiful you are, my darling. How beautiful you are. Your eyes are like doves behind your veil. Your hair is like a flock of goats that have descended from Mount Gilead. Your teeth are like a flock of newly shorn ewes, which have come up from their washing, all of which bear twins, and not one among them has lost her young. Your lips are like a scarlet thread, and your mouth is lovely. Your temples are like a slice of pomegranate behind your veil. Your neck is like the Tower of David, built with rows of stone, on which are hung 1,000 shields, all the round shields of the mighty men. Your 2 breasts are like 2 fawns, twins of a gazelle, which feed among the lilies. Until the cool of the day, when the shadows flee away, I will go my way to the mountain of myrrh and to the hill of frankincense. You are altogether beautiful, my darling, and there is no blemish in you.
Isn't that interesting? He's still calling back what she was insecure about in chapter 1.
Yeah.
There's no blemish in you. Why do you think he added that?
To reassure her that he loves everything about her.
And he's giving very vivid descriptions about what he loves about her in very picturesque detail. Again, he hasn't touched her body yet.
Yeah.
He's touching her heart and mind.
Yeah.
He's giving to her these pictures that, again, you want to be careful.
Yeah.
Your neck is like the Tower of David. Think about this. An otherwise ordinary hill now is host to one of the most majestic sights in all of the kingdom. You are one of the most majestic creatures. Look at your neck. Rows of stones. He's describing her muscular neck. Now, this is public. It's picturesque. And it's very purposeful. He's being very intentional about all this. So some of these are obvious. Your lips are like a scarlet thread, red, right? But let's talk about her teeth. Your teeth are like newly shorn ewes. What color are newly shorn ewes when they've just come up from their washing?
White.
They're white. That's good. You have white teeth.
Yeah.
And not one of them is missing. Not one of them has lost her young. They're twins. So, baby, you got all your teeth. Okay. Now, what this is saying is, in an age without modern dentistry, I look at you. Would she have braces? No. She has taken care of herself. He is adoring everything about her. Her hair, like a flock of goats. You might be like, really? You just said her hair looks like goat hair? No. If you've ever seen at the end of the day, goats come over the hill, you might well, that'd be weird. I'm not impressed by goats. But imagine you ever seen a horses that are released that run? How majestic that is. He's saying your hair, which is jet black, it reminds me of when those goats come over the hill and there is this stampede. I'm looking at you and seeing a stampede of beauty right here. I look at your teeth. I look at your lips. I look at your temples. I look at your neck. I look at verse 5, your breasts, which he is going to enjoy. And he describes them, notice this, and I think as we're saying here, and some pastors for shock value, unfortunately, have disqualified themselves really from speaking about this because of the grunge nature of the way that they describe this. Notice he describes her breasts like fawns. They're young and playful, but the picture is shrouding in language that's appropriate what he intends to enjoy that's just between them. So there's not a harsh, You don't see anything violent here. You don't see anything that is masochistic or sadistic here. You don't see anything that is popularized by pornography that objectifies a person, that so gives you right to have access to that person that you get to unleash with violence on that body. No. This is something to be stewarded and cared of. Fawns are easily spooked too. Like there's a level in which he is communicating, I intend to take such gentle care of those things that I alone am privileged to enjoy in you. And he even says, and he calls back what she said earlier, until the cool of day when the shadows flee away, we're there. I'm going to go my way to the mountain of myrrh and to the hill of frankincense. I'm going to make my way to your mountains. So you are beautiful, and I love everything about you. So then verse 8, come with me from Lebanon. That's way up north. May you come with me from Lebanon, journey down from the summit of Amana. These are all high altitude places. What he's describing is, heretofore in our relationship, you've been protected from this experience that we're about to enjoy. Now it is time. You can take the leash off, as it were. It's not time for you to invoke your accountability partners to stop us. It's time for you to actually enter into it. Come down from the den of lions and the mountain of leopards, that place where they all hide and where you're safe from me. Because verse 19, you have made my heart beat faster, my sister, my bride. Notice that there's a best friendship in there, right? You've made my heart beat faster with a single glance of your eyes, with a single strand of your necklace. How beautiful is your love, my sister, my bride. How much better is your love than wine and the fragrance of your oils? He's now saying back to her what she said to him in chapter 1. Your lips, verse 11, what?
My bride, drip honey.
Keep going.
Honey and milk are under your tongue, and the fragrance of your garments is like the fragrance of Lebanon.
You've heard of a French kiss?
Yeah.
This is an Israel kiss, and he's about to give it to her.
Yeah.
He's describing even the act of kissing. Now they're into it. And he's exploring what's been locked up. In fact, he calls her, verse 12, a garden locked. I can't get into your garden. And explore all your flowers, as it were. A rock garden locked, a spring sealed up. But now he's like, your shoots. Now that he's in the garden, he's describing her body in very even more cryptic shrouded language as an orchard of pomegranates, choice fruits, henna with nard plants. And you can go Google all these things and look. What he's saying is, now that I have access to what has been locked prior, I see that there's so many wonderful delights that I am savoring. When you walk, you don't sprint through a rose garden. You stop and look at and smell every flower. You take every little dainty, petite expression that is so beautiful and you enjoy it. You take your time. He's undressing her and he's moving her now into the marriage bed. And he's saying, there's so many things for me to enjoy, and I'm going to enjoy them all. And now you are a garden spring, a well of fresh water. And then she says, go ahead and read verse 16.
Awake, O north wind, and come, wind of the south. Make my garden breathe out fragrance. Let its spices be wafted abroad. May my beloved come into his garden and eat its choice fruits.
Take anything you want. Anything. You like what you smell? Hey, let me summon the wind to carry every one of those things that I have protected for you alone. And may the wind blow and grab any one of those and waft that fragrance to your nose, and may you step towards whatever delights you. There's nothing held back. There's no restraints. And then the chapter ends. And it's supposed to end right there. It's supposed to end right there. Why? Well, why doesn't he say, so then we went to the marriage bed and this is what we did?
Because that's a sacred thing between a husband and a wife.
That's right. We don't get, nor do we want access to this. Every couple who gets the experience of this when they're married, and by the way, if you're a couple listening to this going, 1 through 11 was good, but number 12 is then go do this. Get married and do this. But this is what you have to enjoy. You should pursue this. And he speaks now in past tense in chapter 5, verse 1, I've come into my garden. It's over. So, but in the white spaces between chapter 4 and chapter 5, the do not disturb sign was on the door.
Yeah.
And they got to enjoy it of their own and explore for themselves and go. He says, I gathered my myrrh along with my balsam. I've eaten my honeycomb and my honey. I've drunk my wine and my milk. few of several of the things that she had to offer, but he's going to go back and get more. He is satisfied. And then somebody says, and this is maybe a great place for us to start winding down, like put your seats up and lock your tray tables. Eat, friends, drink, and imbibe deeply, O lovers. Somebody else is in the room with them. Somebody else is giving them a command to enjoy. He's calling them friends, and he is saying, go as far as you can and be as inebriated as possible on this wonderful gift, lovers. Who's in the room? Do you know? Most commentators believe this is God. This is the one time where God makes a cameo in the Song of Solomon, where he's saying, this is my gift to you. Now, some people are like, well, this is the party on the outside, because in the ancient world, when you had your honeymoon experience, you went to the next room. And sometimes people listened at the door and then had some weird things like come out and show proof on the bedsheet that she in fact was a virgin. And some of that's a little weird to me, but that was part of the history of some of those things. And by the way, historical descriptions are not necessarily biblical prescriptions. We have to underline here.
Yeah.
You don't have to have your friends all waiting outside the door of your honeymoon room and then come out. But somebody in there is saying, take it and enjoy it. Most people believe this is God. And so God is putting his stamp on this. Now, there's several other things that maybe we should come back later in the Song of Solomon and address. They have a fight. It's a great fight. She says, you're not worth the dust on my feet. He's like, I'm out of here. I'm going to work. Yeah. There's so many, conflicts they have. The dream that she had about being found by the watchman of the city, she actually experienced in life, because when he walked away and wouldn't come back and she called him, and they have conflict, and conflict resolution is in here. Communication is clearly in here. She's going to say to her friends, tell me how to find my husband. And that I didn't want to see. And the last time I saw him, my eyes were squinting and I was angry at him. And that's not a great thing to do to the king, lock him out of the palace. And he goes away. She says, he is wholly desirable to me. This is my beloved and this is my friend. He ultimately goes to a place. She comes and finds him. They make up. They have a wonderful, as bad as their fight was, their makeup is that spectacular. But where I'd like to end here, both in our series and in chapter 8, where the book ends, is a kind of a sober warning. And by the way, again, it was underlined in the last podcast, but if you have questions, we're going to take questions about anything that's come up in the dating, marriage, romantic, anything we've said so far. So get those into us quickly, because we're going to be recording that soon. But in chapter 8, there's a kind of a big finish. Verse 6, she says to him something very, very important. Go ahead and read that, 6 and 7.
Put me like a seal over your heart, like a seal on your arm. For love is as strong as death. Jealousy is as severe as Sheol. Its flashes are flashes of fire, the very flame of the Lord. Many waters cannot quench love, nor will rivers overflow it. If a man were to give all the riches of his house for love, it would be utterly despised.
Put me like a seal over your heart. What's a seal?
Closes something up.
Yeah. It's a in the ancient world, especially when they did letters. Yeah. You could only open it if it was addressed to you, and the seal was the protection of the contents inside. But it secured something. You have this language also used like in Ephesians 1 in the New Testament. The Holy Spirit is our seal, the guarantee of our salvation. So I want you, now think about the context. We just had a massive fight. We kind of had a blowout. You weren't so lovely to me, until you were again, and I got my perspective right. But can you give me reassurances again? I want to know that on your heart, there is an unbreakable bond that we have. But I also want it on your arm. What's the difference between it being in your heart and in your arm?
Well, I'm thinking like your arm, like the things that you do are with your arm. So it's saying, I'm going to love you with my actions as well.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to see that in reality. And those actions are going to be very public, right? There's a private hidden side and there's a public side. There's a commitment on the inside, but there's an action side, right? I want it to be clear to you and clear to everybody else that this thing is secure, right? So love is as strong as what?
Death.
Death's pretty jealous, right? It's pretty captivating. In fact, jealousy is as severe as Sheol. How jealous is the grave for its occupants?
Incredibly.
Well, it doesn't give you back.
Yeah.
You got to rise from the dead and you have to be named Jesus,
Yeah.
or Jesus has to do that for you, So the grave takes everything.
Yeah.
It does. It ultimately takes everything. She's saying, will you be jealous for me? Not jealous of me, jealous for me that way. Will your love be as strong as death is, unyielding? Will you be like the flame of the Lord with a fire that burns for me? You can't quench that kind of fire with love. If you try to douse it with many rivers, it wouldn't overflow it. If you gave everything that you had financially, even Solomon, for love, you would cheapen love. So she's at the very end saying, would you give me reassurances? And then the brothers come in verse 8, and they talk about why they stuck her in the fields. We have a little sister. She has no breasts. So this is pre-puberty, a decision that they made. Again, no dad in there. So the brothers took up the protection and care for her. What shall we do for our sister on the day she's spoken for? If she is, verse 19, a what?
A wall.
A wall. A wall is impenetrable. A wall is you have to try to scale it so high. A wall, it protects things on the inside. If she is a wall, we will build on her a battlement of silver. But if she is a door, what's the difference between a door and a wall?
A door you can get through.
Yeah. So he's talking about but we're going to make this decision before she's even eligible for this to decide how we're going to protect her purity. So if she's a door, we're going to barricade her with planks of cedar. In other words, if she's the kind of person who is open to, vulnerable against, easily penetrated, we're going to board her up with the strongest wood we know how. If she's a wall and nobody can get over her, we're going to decorate her with battle shields. In other words, we're going to decide what kind of girl is she? What kind of protection does she need from us? They're still saying, I'm still here. I'm still protecting her. We still have a strong vested interest. Solomon, we want to hear from you, she says, that you have an unbreakable bond in your heart, publicly and privately, what you're committed to, what you do. But our commitment for her is what we've always held true, that she is going to be a impenetrable, unscalable, protected. Therefore, we celebrate her. Or if she's not, we're going to make her into a wall. Mm-hmm. That's why we stuck her in the fields all that time. We're going to bowl her. We still have to have, right, at the end of this, right, a unbreakable commitment to what we started with, right? Like our foundation that we said from the beginning, we have to still keep all the way to the end, right? Like there's not going to be something that we or you or anybody that's around us let us ever fall into such a disrepair that we fall out of love for each other, or we begin to introduce compromises, little foxes in our relationship, where even though we are married, like now mission accomplished, no. You build on that going forward. So that's a great place for us to say those 11 questions prior to this are still what every day as a married couple you continue to pursue. Those don't go away now that you got a ring on your finger. Those intensify with a foundation that created patterns of righteousness that you started then and now have still.
Yeah.
For as long as you live. Why is that important? Because Solomon didn't. The sad reality of this, and this is going to feel like a bummer way to end, but it's actually God's design that it would end this way. The sad reality is that the Song of Songs, which captured God's ultimate design, Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, became the wisest fool in the Bible. The autopsy report of Solomon's life is called the Book of Ecclesiastes. You remember how many wives he had?
Like 700.
Yeah. How many girlfriends he had, concubines?
300.
That's 1,000 women.
Yeah.
So do the math on that. You could have the most deviant was what it would be, but elaborate sexual experience with a different woman every night and not repeat that experience for 3.5 years. If you're Solomon, concubines exist purely for sexual pleasure, for a king, wives. Now, did you know this? It wasn't Solomon just had a lust problem, though we would say clearly he did. Mm-hmm. The way that, and God forbid this, the way that you secured peace with foreign nations, Solomon was the leader of the greatest nation in the world. People came from everywhere to see him, and people wanted to be attached to him. So what they did is they would offer a woman from their harem for Solomon to wed, so that when they had children, we're family. You'll never go to war on your family, right? Mm-hmm. We're family. So it was a way of ensuring at a peace treaty, which God said you never make one with foreign nations. You don't make a single one of those, because you'll become beholden to their ways, and you'll compromise, which he did 700 times. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, he decided to say, well, let me see if I can expand that experience. So what that means is that those foreign countries didn't offer up some ugly woman. They gave the Miss America winner, or the Miss South Africa winner, or the Miss fill in the blank winner to Solomon as a way of sealing the deal of their peace. And as Solomon took in those women, 1 Kings 3 says, he loved many foreign women, and those women turned his heart away. And that's really, we end where we began. The person you date has the ability to point you toward the Lord or turn your heart away.
Yeah.
And it says in Kings, Solomon's heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his God like David had been. And those women turned his heart away. And then Solomon began to offer up some of their children to Molech, which is like ancient child sacrifice in Israel. The very chapter that he did this, 1 Kings 11, he died. So it stands for us, number one, as a sober warning.
Yeah.
Don't just think that if you follow it up till now, 12th question, it's automatic and given that you're going to finish well. You have to do this to start well, but you have to finish well too by continuing to do this. The second thing, and we'll close with this, is when Solomon writes the book of Ecclesiastes, he calls back the Song of Solomon. He says, rejoice, chapter 11, rejoice, young man, all the days of your fleeting life under the sun, and rejoice in the woman, singular, that God has given you, for she, singular, is your reward. What he's saying as he recounts all the horrific mistakes he made was that he didn't heed his own advice. When he listened to the Song of Solomon, it kind of became a CD that he traded out for another one, and he crashed and burned. You don't have to crash and burn. You get to learn not only for how it's supposed to be, but he also illustrated what not to do once you've arrived there. So we want you to flourish in your relationship. We want you to flourish spiritually. We want all these emotional, intellectual, social aspects of your relationship to be all that God intended. And if it doesn't have these, you're with the wrong person. But if it is these things, go and enjoy God's gift. But don't think for a second that you are invulnerable. What you started here now, you must continue all the way firmly to the end.
Well, there you go. That wraps up our series on the second most important decision of your life. Listeners, we hope that this was encouraging and gives you the clarity that you need to move forward or to withhold from the relationship that you are in. We thank you for joining us on this episode of the It Stands Written podcast, and Lord willing, we will see you on the next one.